topic. Sir, my today's topic is happiness is our choice. That happiness
Yes.
is and only is we cannot rely on anything. We cannot rely on any person for our. So, what is your opinion about the same? That is happiness is our choice or another choice?
Well, that's an interesting subject because all of us are looking for happiness. I mean, that's ideal. We look here, we go out and we get a new boyfriend or girlfriend. We think that's going to bring us happiness. And then maybe sooner or later that happiness turns into sadness. Or we go out and buy new clothing. And that makes us happy for a little while. And then after a while, it doesn't make us happy anymore. We buy a new car or whatever. And that happiness lasts for a little while. And then it goes away. So what we can say about happiness is even though we are constantly looking for it, it is something that's very transient. It requires something outside of us for us to feel that sense of happiness. Is that right?
Correct.
In other words, you go get a new something and you feel happy. Or somebody says a kind word to you and you feel happy. So what we're saying here is happiness requires an external factor
Yes.
in order to create it within us. Is this true?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So that means that happiness is not stable.
Yes.
We can be happy 1 minute, and of course, happiness has an opposite. Sadness.
Yes, that's temporary. Yeah, temporary happiness, we can say.
Very temporary, very temporary. It could last just moments. So, if happiness is very temporary, and sometimes when we go to do something that makes us happy, we find out that it actually makes us sad. So we intended to be happy, but it didn't work out that way. It made us actually sad. So not only is it temporary, but often we do things that we think are going to make us happy, and lo and behold, it makes us sad. So it doesn't seem like happiness in and of itself is a very stable thing for our lives, is it? It's not something that we can count on.
Mm-hmm.
But we are constantly seeking happiness in one form or another. Now, that tendency, that desire for happiness, it seems like that indicates something in our lives. What is that is seeking happiness? What is seeking happiness tell us about ourselves, if anything? Well, it tells us that we are not satisfied with our current condition, whatever that is. Even if we're in a state of somewhat relative happiness, we're not satisfied. We want more happiness. Or if we're sad, we want to get rid of the sadness and bring happiness. So there's something inside of us that drives us to try and experience this happiness, though we know it's only temporary. Is this true?
Yes, sir.
So, what is the answer? Is there something beyond happiness that is permanent, that doesn't require something outside of ourselves to bring us happiness? And once we have it, it does not have an opposite. And no one can take it away from us.
Yes, sir.
Now, in India, the great rishis, thousands of years ago, they asked these same questions. These are questions that humans have been asking for thousands of years. And some people decided to do something about it. They decided to look for something that was stable, something that was within themselves, not outside. Because they know that anything outside is constantly changing, correct? So you can't rely on it. Can't rely on it. So what they did was they began developing these mental disciplines, these techniques of introspection, of self-inquiry.
Correct.
Like, who is experiencing the happiness or who is experiencing the sadness? Who is the perceiver of that inside?
Yes.
Because without that perceiver, sadness and happiness could not be perceived, could it? There would be no experience of happiness or sadness unless there were something within us that perceives it. Correct?
Correct. Yes, sir. True.
So, what is that perceiving factor? What is that perceiving factor? And why don't we notice it? Why, what is its characteristics? Does it have a characteristic, that perceiving factor, that which watches the changing phenomenon within the mind? Like going to a movie, sitting in a movie, eating a box of popcorn, watching a movie. There is that factor within ourselves that watches the drama of our life, but does not participate in it. It simply is the observer. That observer we call consciousness. We call the Atman. We call the Atman, the observer. And the nature of that observer is that observer's nature is complete silence. And in that silence, there is complete peace. Peace does not have an opposite in this context. It doesn't require anything to bring itself peace. That is its nature. In silence that is within us, there is automatically peace. And that peace is something that is the foundation of everything that we do in life, which means that happiness can come and go, sadness can come and go, but if we have cultivated being more aware of that source of peace within us, that consciousness within us, that we have learned somehow to pay more attention to it, then our life is like a rock. It cannot be thrown off by pleasure or pain, happiness or sadness, by the opposites. Because that within us is immovable.
Yes.
It never changes. Now, if that is so, and if its nature is silence, and if the nature of silence is a fundamental, foundational, and depth of peace that we can't even put into words, is there a way of being more aware of that within the mind? Is there a way of contacting it? So that's another topic. Does that give you a little question on what is happiness and sadness, and what is beyond happiness and sadness that is within us?
Yes, definitely. So we should have to focus on internal side about the internal inner happiness, except that to our external factors, which are definitely going to affect us. So right now we are given the valuable information about happiness and how we can relate with our life. My second question is, sir, that as in a day-to-day life, we are in too much hurry, complete each and every task, and also appreciation. Okay, if we get appreciation, we feel happy. If we don't get appreciation, we feel something bad, that something bad I did, or what, why didn't I get appreciation. And the thing is, how we cannot relate happiness with appreciation.
Mhm. You see, we're so busy in life, going, seeing, doing, uh, acting, performing, speaking, learning, whatever. All of these actions are on the surface of the mind. That's what occupies the surface of the mind. And we habitually roll from one activity to the next.
Yes.
We never take the time to truly enjoy anything well.
Yes.
Usually yeah?
Yes.
We never take time.
Yeah.
We're usually in the past, thinking about things that happened, or we're worried about the future, what's going to happen there, and we're never right here, right now. Okay, so because we're constantly shifting between these non-existent time frames, remember, the past is dead. The future is an illusion. And the only thing that we have is this moment, this one now. If we could truly be present in this one now, without projecting into the future or without looking into the past, then we could truly enjoy this one moment for what it is without having it colored by prior experiences or illusory expectations of what we might want the future to be. None of that is real. Now is real. Now is real. This one moment is the only reality. So how can we begin to cultivate within ourselves the appreciation of this nowness of life?
Correct.
Where we are not running to the past or projecting into the future and being totally confused and tired out in a okay? We didn't connect there for a minute. So I'll say that again. Is there a way that we can cultivate a new habit of being present in this now, this one moment? Because in this one moment, in truth, that's really all we have. Everything else is an illusion. The illusion of the past, memories, the projections of the future, all illusion. And illusions can never bring us happiness. They're shadows. They're shadows. The only thing that is real, is that which does not change. Something is real if it does not change. If it changes, we say it is apparent, it is apparently there, but it is not real. When we say real, real means that it is stable, it is unchanging, it is ever present. That we have within us. There is nothing outside of us that can bring that to us. We must, as the rishis had done thousands of years ago, go into a period of self-inquiry. Who am I? Who is that watches? Who is that observer? What is that observer? What is its nature? Why does it keep getting overshadowed by thoughts and I lose it in this maelstrom of thoughts and emotions? How can I steady the mind where that observer comes to the foreground and I perceive it as more real than these passing shadows of life. If I can do that, I have a stable rock upon which I can build my life. Because that once I am aware of that stable factor of life, that consciousness of life, once I can bring it into my daily life, then all of these other things, the happy ones, the sad ones, no matter what it is, those experiences cannot throw us off. We cannot get lost in them and thereby suffer. We suffer when we attach ourselves to that which is not permanent, which will come and go. We try to hold on to something, yes, that comes
Yes, sir.
into our life. And in that holding on, when it's time for it to go, as it is pulled away, which all things are eventually, there is sadness. The sadness of loss. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem like that's a really great way to live our life, being torn between these waves of happiness, sadness, loss, and all of that. So we need to find some method of turning inward and to be able to contact that silent observer within us, because that is the only place that we can go where that can be experienced, because it is already within us. And here is where things like meditation and spiritual practices come into play.
Yes.
Because people make the mistake of believing that they can control the mind and stop it from thinking and be in that place of peace through effort. And that is wrong. You can never, ever reach that silence within through mental or physical effort.
True.
It's the opposite of what that is. Effort is opposite of what that is. It is not a mental concept. It is not a goal. You can't reach it. And the reason why you can't reach it is you already are it. You simply forgot it. We simply allowed all these other elements and movements of life to overshadow that foundation within us, that peace that is already within us. And this is what the great rishis of thousands of years, 5, 10, 15,000 years ago in India, this is what their mission was, is to identify with it, to finally realize the source of all life, which is that foundational principle of awareness, of consciousness, but not by effort. It's by self-inquiry. Who am I? What am I? Is this thought real? There's a saying in Gnan Yoga, which is nyati nyati, not this, that. Nowhere in the does it ever. Hear me okay? We're still trying to connect. Are you there, CK? Hello? Yeah, it looks like we're just cutting out periodically.
Yeah, just might be because of network issue. Yeah, I can hear you, sir, clearly.
Can you hear me? Because your video stops, and I don't know if you can hear me or not.
And I can.
You can hear me, even though the video's hung up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what these rishis did is that they decided that they were going to sit quietly and observe the workings of the mind, to watch the workings of the mind. And they determined that the mind and the activity of the mind was not their true self, because there was something behind the mind, behind the thoughts, that watched the thoughts, that experienced the thoughts as things, something other than itself. That consciousness experienced thoughts as simply a ripple within itself. So what they did was they would periodically simply go away somewhere and do this self-inquiry, and they developed many techniques of doing this. There's Gnan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, right? All these methods of knowing what is the true self. Where can that true self within us be found? How can we get there? Or can we simply say it's not a place to go, but it is a place which unfolds within us, just like a flower blooms. A flower doesn't go anywhere, does it? As it grows, it opens up automatically. The petals open up automatically.
Yes.
And the fragrance permeates the garden, right? Naturally. The flower doesn't have to work at it. Neither do we. This is why it is recommended that we take a few minutes out of each day and sit quietly and allow the mind to quiet down, where these waves begin to flatten out, to settle down. And when these waves of thought settle down, what is left? What is left is the screen, the backdrop upon which those thoughts play. That backdrop is our true self.
Yes.
When we can come more in contact with that true self, whose nature is intelligence, is peace, is the potential for great action. It is the potential energy of creation. And at the same time, inner peace. So this is what we want to be able to contact more within ourselves. It has nothing to do with happiness. Happiness can be taken away. Once contacted, that peace can never be taken away, because it is within us. It requires nothing outside of ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. I'm just saying that we should focus on the meditation more to get inner happiness, and also to get more happiness and permanent happiness. So my next question is related to same only, that as many of the people are trying their meditation, but in the enthusiasm they are starting that we are going to do the meditation and we will feel happy, we will feel satisfied. And when they are doing the meditation, they feel like sleeping only on the time. People are saying that meditation is not nothing but the sleep. We get sleep all the time when we are doing the meditation. So what is correct method to do a meditation? Actually, you are doing meditation from last 5 years, and you are giving the same lesson to all of them regarding the meditation. So according to you, what is the correct method to do a meditation to get a real happiness from it?
First of all, It's like if I want to go through uncharted territory, I've never been here before, right? I could strike out on my own and I could go through the bushes. I could beat my path through there and get all scratched up and, take the long way around. But eventually I might get there, but it's difficult. Similarly, we can go off on our own. We can try this, we can try that. And maybe sooner or later, just by accident or luck, we might tumble on that one key that opens the door to that inner self for us. But there's a better way. There's a better way. What we do is if we have that inner desire that says, there is more of life that I can be. I do not have to be thrown about by the winds of chance. Happiness and sadness, wealth and poverty. We're tossed around like a leaf in a storm. I don't have to do that. I know there's a better way. I have heard that there is a better way. First of all is hearing that there's a better way. That's the first step. Once we hear that there is a better way to be able to live a life of fullness, of peace, of energy, of productivity, once we can hear that and know that that is true, then the next thing is to find a qualified teacher. And when I say a qualified teacher, I mean a teacher who has walked that path, who has understood the mechanisms of the mind and the body and how they interact and what is the essence of mind and body, which is the foundation of all life itself, whether it's on this planet or within all of the universe. That pure awareness, that Parabrahman, that which is. We find a teacher who knows that. And then we listen and we practice the techniques and we gain the understanding, not just of how to be still, because that's really the essence of meditation, is allowing the body-mind to settle down. And in that stillness, that beingness, that pure energy is reflected more clearly in the mind. Do you understand? When the mind and body settle down to a state of rest, it's like a pond. When the wind is blowing, there's many waves, and it looks like there are many suns on the surface of the pond, isn't there? There's only one sun shining. But because of the waves, it looks like there's many suns on the water. But when the wind settles down, the waves subside. And the sun becomes singular, becomes one. And we agree, the sun is only one reflecting in the water. Similarly, when the mind and body settle down, the reflection of that pure consciousness, that beingness, that foundation of life, is reflected cleanly and purely, undisturbed, through the mind, where it enlightens the mind. When we say that, that means that it provides dynamic potential energy, clarity, and at the same time, complete peace in the midst of that activity. So that is the method, is to be able to find a proper teacher that has experienced that knows that, and has the skill of teaching, not just of the technique of how to sit and become quiet through a technique of meditation, but also the skill of understanding how the mind works. That is critical, because we can't sit in meditation all day long. We have to get up and do work and go to school. And there we are. We're back in the middle of the storm. So it's not just a matter of sitting down and meditating and becoming peaceful, but how do we begin to integrate more of that peace within us into our daily activity?
Right.
Where little by little it becomes spontaneous. That our activities take on the characteristic of that peace, which is, it's well thought out. We don't have to put out as much energy to accomplish our goals because we are efficient, because the mind is well ordered. The body has been finely tuned through great rest. Therefore, all of life benefits. It's like watering the root of a plant, giving it nutrition, giving it water. What happens? The entire plant benefits. Every little leaf benefits. Every stalk benefits. Yes?
Yes, true, sir.
This is the way it works. It's a natural process, but it's something that it is also a discipline. The discipline in spiritual practice or in meditation is to be able to simply sit down. That is the hardest thing. Once we have the discipline of sitting down, correct meditation is the essence of simplicity. If somebody is trying to concentrate and drive thoughts out or think pretty thoughts and whatever, that's not it. That's not it. It's just more thoughts, more concepts. That which is within us, that silence within us, is not a concept. You can't reach it by working hard. We reach it by letting go. The correct techniques of meditation show us how to let go mentally, and at the same time, we become physically relaxed. And it's like taking a bath in silence, where that silence washes over internally us as a metaphor.
Yes.
It arises and it permeates the mind. The mind becomes more stable, less agitated. The body has gotten great rest, so it's going to be working better. It's not going to be so stressed. So all of the life benefits by watering the root of life. The root of life is that pure consciousness, that pure awareness, is the source of life. Does that make sense?
Amazing thought, sir. Amazing thought. Yeah, sir. My next question, as one of my last question, is on behalf of you, sir. And I just want to each and everyone that sir didn't miss a single day to meditation. Okay, sir. Every day they are doing meditation, and definitely, even when I met to sir last time, even I did the sir interview last year. Sir is having too much enthusiasm as compared to us only. Sir never get tired. Sir never miss anything. Sir is too much punctual about their work. That's a good quality. We can learn from the Bob sir. And definitely I follow Bob sir too much, and from them only I learned about meditation. I started to do meditation each and every day. Sir, we know about we are in high situation. We are doing all kind of work in high city. People when they go about situation within social study area. So when they are surrounded with the when they are surrounded with the in the people. How to find out
Okay, you're breaking up a lot. Must be the connection, but it's important. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir. I hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, because your video is frozen and your voice is choppy because of the internet signal.
Okay.
It's not a good signal. Now, a lot of people think that if they just sit down and meditate twice a day and whatever, everything is just fine. And certainly it does help, but it is not enough. We have to actively participate in our own life. We have to watch our thoughts, emotions. When thoughts come up that do not serve us, that's a waste of energy, that we're not going to do anything with, it's just a habitual squirrel running in the cage of our mind. We must stop and say, look, I don't have to think this. I can do something else. I can divert my mind to something where that energy of thought can be more used productively and not go back into these old bad habits of just thinking and not doing anything. You see what a waste of life energy that is? It's like a squirrel running around in a circular cage. Runs and runs and runs. Goes nowhere. That's what most of us do with our life. Is we run in the cage and go nowhere. A lot of activity, but no productive action. Does that make sense? So this dimension, this is a dimension of expanding our horizons in life. It must contain two pieces: silence and activity. The silence of meditation. And when we meditate, we become more aware. We become more awake inside. But then, when we go out into our daily lives, we have to use that awareness that we've gained, that awakeness. And we need to be able to control our minds better, to use it more productively. If bad thoughts come in, we don't just let them roll through the mind over and over. We say, no, I do not have to think that. We can divert our mind to a better thought or to another activity and not waste it on useless negative thinking. Now, this is not easy because we've spent a lifetime of thinking wrongly for the most part. And we have a habit. It's a bad habit that we must change. But we can change it. Because when we meditate, we gain more inner strength. We gain that solidity, that stableness inside that gives us the ability to understand and observe the workings of the mind and direct that mind to be a good tool, not a bad master. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
The mind is a great tool, but it's a bad master. The mind is only a tool. We must use it properly. And in order to use it properly, we must approach this from two sides. From the silence within us, and by actively participating in our life, in our thoughts, being alert and watchful of the thoughts that we are thinking, and realizing that we do not have to, we are not compulsory to think any particular thought. We can change a thought if it is not productive, if it is a thought that brings sadness. We do not have to hold on to it. It takes work, yes, because of the bad habits that we have gained over a lifetime. But it can be done. And I know it can be done because I've done it. It's taken, but I figured it was worth it. That having peace of mind and at the same time being able to work dynamically toward those things in the outside world that I wanted to accomplish without wasting energy, I figured that was a better way of living, a conscious way of living, not living by accident, not living by random motion. Because then life seems to be that we just waste it. It's like pouring gold on the highway. It's lost. So we need to use these two parts of life. Silence, bring it into life, and then consciously take part in our life. Not just allow it to happen to us, but that we can actually begin directing our thinking, our actions from a stable point within us, and thereby live a more fulfilling, productive, and happy life, not by getting something from outside of ourselves to make us happy, but by drawing forth that peace, that ultimate happiness from within us that doesn't require anything outside of us for it to be there. Then we become fully integrated human beings.